60s, a booming time of social and cultural upheaval. People were fighting for their basic rights. A president was assassinated, and then humankind got to the moon. While all this was happening around the years of like 1965 to 1969, psychedelics, in particular LSD, started getting into mainstream popular culture. Now, according to 2016's National Institute on Drug Abuse's article, "What are hallucinogens?" it is said that psychedelics are psychoactive drugs that are designed to alter cognition and perception. So, in other words, they're to alter reality. LSD started breaking into mainstream culture and ultimately started driving the counterculture in the United States. Now, as someone who listens to music every day, and mostly music from the late 1960s, I wanted to explore more of like the different changes in sound as it started happening. So learning about the impact of LSD in the culture will help us better understand musical change in the 1960s. Now, to begin, I'll discuss the background and like effects of LSD. Then I'll continue to discuss the mentality and sort of like the scene behind LSD. And then I'll continue to discuss, lastly, to discuss about how LSD impacted music. Now, all right, so to get a better understanding of the impact, you must get a better background of its effects. So according to 2015's What's That Sound, a book written by music professors Andrew Flory and John Kovac, LSD, or lysergic acid diethylamide, or acid, was accidentally discovered in 1943 by a Swiss scientist who was trying to find a cure for migraine. While it was discovered, the CIA kind of picked it up and tried to see if they could find possible treatments, first as a truth serum, but then to treat possible problems at the time, such as alcoholism. Now, referring back to the article of National Institute of Drug Abuse, LSD causes hallucinations, but that some can see or cannot see. LSD is usually swallowed or kept under the tongue, and it's given in little cuts of paper, sugar cubes, or in sometimes Jello. It usually hits a person within 20 to 90 minutes of like receiving it, and the effects can last from 6 to 12 hours. Yeah. It usually means like when LSD affects you, the visible signs are your pupils get dilated, your appetite is reduced, and you're awake. You're really like awake, like not, you know. LSD also affects people psychologically. A lot of people like differ. Paranoia or anxiety is one of the most like common things. So like if that happens, then that person's having what is called a bad trip. All right. So now that I discussed to you guys about the effects, I'll now discuss to you about the mentality and the scenes behind LSD. Now, in 2007, Summer of Love, Rolling Stone editors Michael Gilmore and Bob Ware write about the late 1960s emergence of San Francisco's counterculture. Now, the mentality started growing around the 50s, where kind of everyone was straight line and everyone did what was supposed to be done. But then in the 60s, people started questioning stuff, government, school, military, like, are they doing the right thing? Is this the right thing to do? Is this the right thing to follow? Is this what I want with my life? So then as people started questioning that, people started taking LSD because they thought that it opened the doors of perception. So it allowed you to see the world as it really was. So the culture started growing and people started kind of just taking LSD. And with that opening and expression of new ideas, people started like going more and getting influenced by Eastern religions, such as Buddhism and stuff like that. And as the mentality furthered, according to Gilmore and Ware's article, it led to a massive period of exploration and unity. So a lot of people started flooding through like taking LSD. In 1965 in Virginia City, Nevada, were the first called psychedelic dances, where sort of bands just got there and people were taking LSD and tripping while bands played. A San Francisco band was a local hit there, took that trend to San Francisco and started there. Now, while this was happening, novelist Ken Kesey and friends started doing what were called acid tests. Now, this is where someone would pay $1, get LSD, and go into a room where different weird and sound effects and music was playing. And Ken Kesey wanted to see the result of that and see how it affected people. And he believed that like LSD should be like universally tried by everyone to experience it. and he wanted to get it out as much as he can. While that was also happening, Ron and Jay Thelen opened the psychedelic shop in the Haight-Ashbury district of San Francisco. Now that was to accommodate all the needs of the hippies, which were like main culture decided to call them. And as that was happening, bands started finding out that the Haight-Ashbury district was kind of the place to go. So bands started going there and using that as their sort of like kind of like recording place, kind of just place to practice different sounds, see like the different results of different people. Now, as that was happening, the counterculture was growing, it was apparent, and newspapers. So newspapers started growing and going for the counterculture, like the San Francisco Oracle in September 1966, and then Rolling Stone, which is most famous, joined them in November 1967. By fall of 1966, the hippie culture was kind of established there in San Francisco. All right, now that I talked to you about the mentality and the scene, I'll now talk to you about the musical impact that LSD had. Now, referring back to Florian Kovach's book, LSD was used more to like enhance the trip, or either take the listener on a trip, like used as an aesthetic drug and sort of like a concept album. So while there are other like up-and-comer bands such as Cream, Pink Floyd, Rolling Stone, and Jimi Hendrix, the main focus and the main people who brought LSD into light were the Beach Boys and the Beatles, with their albums respectively for the Beach Boys, Smiley Smile, and for the Beatles, Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band. The LSD and psychedelic sort of music started protruding and kind of going into mainstream culture and being very popular. Now that I told you about the music, to understand the musical change in the late 1960s, I talked to you guys about LSD, and I talked to you guys about the background and effects of LSD, the mentality and scene behind it, and the musical impact that it had. And music is a constant force. Every generation has their sound, and maybe if you listen to the late 1960s music, you can hear it.